This video is going to be a little bit different from the normal format that I do because I'm going to be narrating quite a large part of the video. I'm going to be talking about how we're planning on restoring our boat to make it liveaboard. So there is a lot to do. I'm going to walk you through most of the boat and talk about, the areas that we think we might be able to do ourselves, the areas that we think we might need some help with. And I'm going to talk about whether I think that this could come within budget or not. Now make sure you watch to the end because there's some interesting things that I have to talk about. So we went down to the boat the other day, just yesterday, because we had a viewing at the house. That's going to be the subject of another video because there's quite a lot to talk about there. But here we are on the mooring, getting on the boat. Okay, so this is the boat from the pontoon where we're on. You can see the big tarp on the back end there, which the previous owner put over to stop water getting in, but you can see the gaps. So we get rain going in there all the time. That's the rigmarole that I have to go through every time we get onto the boat. So it's very precarious. You have to kind of. He's got a piece of board that sticks down, or a piece of wood, which I have to prop up for us to actually get onto the boat. The other side's pretty much the same. So and then you kind of climb in. There is a little step, but it slips all over the place because the flooring is really is like very plastic. It's got like this resin flooring. And then we pass some bags on. I have what I call the boat bag. That goes on the boat. It has all my tools and stuff, all the various spanners and bits and pieces that I have when I'm sort of doing any work on the boat. And then Jess has to clamber on the boat as well, which has been a bit tricky because she's had a hairline fracture in her foot. So obviously I have to sort of help her actually get onto the boat. So it can be a little bit tricky. It's even more tricky at low tide as well because the boat tilts over at quite an angle, and it makes it even more precarious. But it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. So then we're inside the wheelhouse. Then what I do, because yesterday was really warm, and what I had to do was make sure the other side of the tarp, we got some airflow going through. So I had to pull that. So that's kind of attached by a bit of rope. There's a weight on it. There's some bungees underneath. It's a right old rigmarole to try and get any airflow in there because it gets really, really warm in the sun. So I don't know what we're planning on, maybe having a canopy on the back. So although it might be colder in winter, the canopy can then be opened up and you can have the whole top off or roll up the sides. That might make it a lot better for us during the summer and the spring, and even in the autumn, or even on warm winter days. Having it rather than having it completely closed in, which is what we'd originally spoke to the boat builder about doing. So as you can see, it's pretty much high tide there where we're at. The river's right up to the reeds, so it's all nice and level, which is good, and that helps when we're actually on board and looking around and looking for stuff to do. It's a lot easier when you're not tilted at like a 45-degree angle. So this is all the junk that's in the back. You can see the tarp there is all opened up both sides now. You've got a diesel tank right at the back. Those lights are just for like workman's lights, and then that plastic roof there we really need to pull off. And you've got some scaffolding poles and everything else holding it all up. So going into the galley, into the cabin, you see the cooker on the right there. It's a bit dark and dingy, and I think that's probably because just the way the sun was, but those windows are quite small, and you can see the rafters on the top and the ceiling hasn't been filled in yet, hasn't had any insulation or anything like that. That's the seating area there, I don't know if you can see in the dark. And then this is me testing out the bed. So I'm going to talk about in a second what we're actually planning to do. But I was just doing some measurements. I'm 6'2", and this is the biggest V-berth that we've found on any boat, even though this boat is only 28 foot long. So we've even looked at 33-foot boats, and their V-berth has been tiny. So this does give us quite a bit of scope there. You can see again though the hull is exposed, so we'd still need to pack it and put a marine ply skin on there. But either way I lay round, as long as we've got an infill, it should be enough for both of us to sleep in, and obviously we can make it look a bit nicer in there, paint it and everything else. So maybe have some shelves. So this is the galley area. That cooker needs to come out. I've got to disconnect the gas pipes that come through from the wheelhouse. And there's just loads of old pots of screws and junk. I say junk, some of it is actually quite useful, which is why I've kept hold of it. The sink doesn't really work. It's a very, very tiny sink. I say it doesn't work, it's just not connected up. We haven't got a water butt or anything like that. That's the toilet there, you can just see, which I'm going to go into in a bit more detail in a second. And then that's peering up into the wheelhouse. And as you can see, it's all stripped back pretty much to the fiberglass, so the whole thing's got to be insulated properly. So at the back of the sink there, you can see some storage that sticks out in front of the windows. We were thinking of removing that and pushing the whole sink back. The problem is there's something called stringers right underneath which don't allow the flooring to be expanded. So the actual galleyway, if you like, the gangway going between the galley and the seating area, where Jess was pointing there, again, more storage in front of the windows that we were thinking is unnecessary. It's wasted space because it's got tiny little holes there to store stuff in. So we're thinking of pushing the seating right back up to the windows to get more space in the gangway, because at the moment it's tiny. You can see there, look, you could barely pass each other in the gangway. It's tiny. So you know, that's quite a big structural change. Now this is the toilet. Now it's literally 2 foot by 3 foot. It's absolutely, there's no toilet in there. The guy from before, he had literally like a bucket in there, but bucket and chuck it, he called it. So you could probably get, you know, you've got plumbing in there for a sea toilet. There's a seacock. That light doesn't work, it's not connected. They've got vinyl wrap on the ceiling there, but so I might be able to take all that off and bring the ceiling up a bit, but I can't stand up in there. So as you can see, it's back to the fiberglass. That's the hull on the outside, and then down the bottom there you've got the, you probably can't see those very well, but that's a tap, a seacock tap for the infill. Then you've got the outflow as well underneath there, with another seacock, and those are blocked off. I could take those out and just have a cartridge toilet. So that again is something the boat builder's probably going to have to do, because that's quite a major job again. And all this is adding up costs. We had a chat with him the other day, and you know, I talked about several things that we wanted to do, and each one of those things blew our budget. You know, we're talking about giving the guy 20 grand to do, you know, a lot of stuff. So it was a bit worrying really about, you know, whether we're going to actually be able to, yeah, none of the windows work, whether we're actually be able to do much of what we actually want. The engine, annoyingly, is right in this slap bang in the middle of it. Now I googled taking the engine out and then maybe having an outboard, and it was like, absolutely not, you can't possibly do that, that's ridiculous. When I said to the boat builder though, he was like, shrugged his shoulders and went, yeah, it can all be done, it's just all money though, isn't it? You know, because if we took that out, we would then have a potential 9 foot long and, I don't know, several feet wide, maybe a berth. We could have a bed there, a proper, like an island bed, and then maybe have everything else down, have a shower at the back end, by the at the front end in the V-berth. So there's lots of different options that we could do to change the whole layout of the boat, and the boat builder can do that. He can strip out the bulkheads, the which are the bits that kind of hold the hull together in shape. He can strip out all of those and move them. He can move things around. The whole thing is designed. These Colvik Northerners were built to be kind of bespoke, kitted out how you want it. So they come as a shell, then you fit them out how you want them, but the engines are always in the middle, which is a bit annoying. So, you know, for perspective, you know, this is the view from the boat. It's really nice. You know, we definitely want a base on the river. Jess is really sold on being on the river now, and having a base on the river, being on the water. You know, it is beautiful down there, and we'd love to just be able to wake up every morning just having that. And it's a lot easier to live on the water permanently full time than it is on land. You know, even if you own your own land. So yeah, it's beautiful with the ducks, and yeah, it's generally very lovely down on the river. However, when we spoke to the guy that is maybe looking to fit out the boat, as I said, we blew our budget several times. So what I said to him, ideally what I want to do is get the boat out onto blocks or onto a trailer or whatever they do, you know, stand it up and do the whole gel coat repaint the whole thing, not necessarily a gel coat, probably get away with painting it, check for osmosis on the hull, make sure there's no blistering, sand that all down, fix the windows so they don't leak, because a couple of them do still leak into the bilge, and then just, you know, paint the whole deck and make sure the whole hull and all of the fiberglass is sound. Make sure all of the straking on the, you've got some wooden straking on the side that needs to be replaced because some of it's moldy. You've got the stanchions where there's like a rope, like a wire rope that goes all the way around for safety when you're walking around the top of the hull, and they need to be bolted in properly. The bolts need to be sheared off or use smaller bolts because they protrude through too much, so we wouldn't be able to get the insulation on. So all these things have got to be done first before we even start on the inner part. He said he was probably looking about, you know, 2 months or so. I thought about 3 months. I thought that was actually pretty good. But 2 months to get all of that done. Now, then, you know, how long is it going to take us to do stuff that we really don't know anything about? It could take a year. It could take a long, long time. Now, funny enough, towards the end of the day when we were sitting there ready to go home in the afternoon yesterday, I suddenly thought, why have we got a 28-foot boat? Why have we not got anything bigger? And the reason being was because when we were at our club, before we escaped with our grand escape, we had a limit of 10 metres. Now 10 metres is about 32, 33 feet. So we were looking at boats no longer than 32 feet really. And when I was offered this boat, which cost me £1,000, he said, oh, I'm going to sell it for 2, you can have it for a grand. You know, it's a nice engine in it. It's got a Ford Orion 1.6 diesel engine in it. Works absolutely fine, as we know, because we motored it up the river. The hull is intact because it hasn't sunk yet, or pretty much, although there are leaks, and there's a lot of work that needs doing on the boat to make it liverboard, but it's really pokey, especially with that engine sticking up. And I suddenly thought, well, actually, the only reason that we've got a shorter boat and we thought, oh, that ticks all the boxes, was because we had a mooring set at the club, which eventually wasn't the right type of mooring. So now we're not at the club anymore. All of the other marinas, they don't care what the length of the boat is. They've got 60-foot narrowboats, 70-foot narrowboats and barges on there. So we could go for a slightly longer boat. Now, obviously, if we go for a narrowboat or a barge, you're talking about blackening of the hull, a lot more expense because they're steel hulls, a lot more expense lifting them out because they're bigger, and a lot more expense monthly for the mooring. So, but we thought actually something around 36 foot, 37 foot would be, you know, a good, 8 foot more longer than the one we've currently got, would give us a lot more scope for living aboard. So I've done various Googling, and now we're actually looking at other boats to see whether we can go, right, if we can get, you know, the 20, rather than spend 20 grand on doing this boat up, which is still going to be tiny, maybe spend 20 grand or, I don't know, 15 grand on another boat that's ready to move on and go, you know, a bigger boat. And that'll give us, you know, a few grand just to tart it up and do what we want on it. So, you know, even if the engine, even because a lot of these boats at 36 foot come with 2 engines, and even if one of the engines wasn't particularly right, it doesn't really matter because we wouldn't be using the engine barely at all. So yeah, the plans could change, and you know, so now I'm thinking, you know, oh well, I don't want this boat anymore. I need to get rid of it because it's costing me £175 a month, isn't it? So I need to check whether we have to have a mooring to keep the storage. Otherwise, we're going to have to get rid of the storage as well, in which case, you know, we're going to have to pull everything back into the house until we're ready to go. But that would save us £275 a month. So that could be an option. Somebody said the other day, actually, I think you should sell the car, sell the caravan, sell the boat, and buy a motorhome, go touring. Yeah, that's something we've considered as well. Jess really wants a base. She really does. So, you know, the base on the river is the easiest way of doing it with the way the moorings work. But even if we went full liverboard and we paid them to have our posts there and everything else, and we paid council tax, our budget would still be way under, you know, our outgoings would be way under what they are now. So it could be worth doing, you know, even full on, pay the council tax, have it as a postal address, that's our base, and then maybe get rid of the car and the caravan and have a small camper or something like that. That's kind of what we're gearing towards now. So yeah, it's a major revelation we had yesterday. As far as the viewings concerned on the property, I'm going to cover that in another video when we get some feedback. But you know, in the meantime, yeah, things could change again. So we may end up boatless But we've still got the caravan. We did a major clean up in the caravan yesterday. Got really excited about staying in it. We are going away in it soon, and we're really looking forward to that. So yeah, I'm going to make sure that we gear out the caravan, look after it, and keep that. That's going to be our home, literally, until we can get sorted with a boat. Which is the ultimate plan, but it won't be a narrow boat. It's too small for me. It won't be a barge. It'll be something around 36 foot, we reckon. You know, I mean, we are going to have a chat with the boat builder. He's going to come and have a look at the boat, get on board and have a look at it, and tell us what we can do within our budget. If it turns out he could make it really, really nice for us within budget, then we might still go with that. But it looks like we're leaning towards getting rid of that. You know, we buy any boat, get rid of it as soon as possible, because it's in our state. It's a project, and selling project boats I know is hard to get rid of. So we'll see, but we'll keep you posted. Anyway, cheers for watching. See you soon.